Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to have Donslow Brown, the founder and CEO of Uncaged Consulting. This is a firm specializing in executive coaching, team building, and leadership development. With over a decade of experience in the health and medical field, Donslow brings a unique blend of expertise, empathy, and enthusiasm to every engagement. His approach fosters emotional intelligence, creates actionable strategies, and inspires personal and professional growth. Donslow, welcome to Founders Future.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am excited to have you and thank you for being here. I would like to start from the beginning. Take us back to before you started your company. What were you doing at that time? Help the listeners understand that a little bit. And what was the motivation behind starting your consulting company?
I was brought up in a traditional four-wall church, in a Haitian four-wall church. I don't know if you know too much about the Haitian culture, but I'm Haitian American. And in the Haitian American church, you're speaking English, you're speaking Creole, you're speaking French. So for starters, there goes the language barrier, right?
Yep.
So then you have to also learn the mannerisms. You got to learn how people like to be spoken to. And I just offered so many different kinds of services while I was there. I've learned what service was, right? Not just clapping your hands and singing a song, but rather, how you can help your fellow man. I was always called upon, whether it be in this particular position or another, to serve somebody. And that's just something that stuck with me. That's something that I wear very close to my heart. And I
Yeah.
think just really, I know a lot of people may say the journey started with a particular job or an accident or something. But me, my time in my four wall church, to be honest with you, man, definitely set the tone for where I went professionally in life.
Mm. Help us understand that. How did that set the tone and what planted the seeds for you to do what you're doing today?
Great question. There's people like my late bishop, my late youth pastor, who just took me out under their wing, showed me that love that I was one of those kids where had a lot of potential and I had a lot on my heart, but I was just very awkward. I didn't really know how to really gel with people too well. Or if I did say something, it was out of context. And what are you talking about? Those particular people that I mentioned earlier, they put the arm around me, and certain conversations they would have with me, certain things they would say that ultimately got me to see my value and just overall this the love aspect of it, just the love that they have for me. And it wasn't just, hey, you're loved or you're great or you're this, but let me show you how loved and great you are by giving you this
Mm.
particular position. It's easy to say one thing to one person, but to show them in acts of service or in act, or any kind of work in general, for the individual to see that within themselves is crazy. Perfect example, I was an usher at one point, and a lot of people think that the work of an usher is real simple. You just tell people to sit. But what happens if they don't want to sit down where you want them to sit? What happens when you're saying hi to them with a smile and they look upset? In those times where I served in that capacity and other positions, I had to understand people's hearts. I had to learn that it wasn't necessarily what they would say to me, it's what they weren't saying to me. I had to
Mm.
pay attention to the nonverbal communication. And at the end of the day, just by meeting where people are and just ultimately reciprocating the love that they had for me to the people and them back to me, it just became something I realized that, hey, it's not just something I'm doing well, it's something that I can do. I was actually born to do something like this. So yeah, I think that really that would have to be it right there.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm curious, what made you decide to take those lessons, take those teachings, take that energy they gave you
Yeah.
and channel it in Uncaged? Why this route? And maybe to help the listeners give the listeners context, walk us through what Uncaged is all about. Who do you work with? Who do you serve? How do you help them? I know it's
Absolutely.
a lot, but
Yeah, for sure. To be honest with you, there were several steps that took place, right? Several steps that crescendoed into where I am right now. But what led me into going to Uncaged Consulting, establishing Uncaged Consulting, is the very name, Uncaged. To be uncaged means at some point you were caged, right? Whether it be in your thoughts, whether it be in your position, your job, okay, whether it be in relationships. And ultimately, as I briefly shared with you earlier, I was a very awkward guy growing up. And ultimately, there was a lot of stinking thinking that I allowed to remain rent free in my mind. One of the things that I wanted to do with Uncaged Consulting, and I'll talk to you about who I serve and everything like that, was whoever I served, whoever I worked with, whoever I catered to and instructed or coached, I got them to first acknowledge that they are great, all right, that there is power inside of them, that there is purpose and calling inside of them. And just like an apple seed, this is my saying, so you feel free to quote me, just like an apple seed dreams of becoming an apple tree, it's the same way that we have that greatness within us. I think sometimes, a lot of times, we ask, whether it be in prayer or whatever, we ask for all these things to come to us, but really we should be looking for those things to come out of us. So on that note, with Uncaged Consulting, what we do is we focus on professional as well as personal based training and coaching. So on the personal side, we'll talk about things such as forgiving, letting go, right? Thinking, as I mentioned before. We talk about things such as forgiving, letting go, consequences, habits, good and bad habits, things that ultimately can take us to our goals or that are taking us out of our goals, that's derailing us. On the professional side, we speak about effective communication, whether it be verbal communication or nonverbal communication. We speak about some of the other things we offer is emotional intelligence in the workplace and in life, as well as leadership foundation. So oftentimes my customers, or rather my clients, they're people like you and I who are young professionals and young entrepreneurs who are trying to take it to the next level. And I also work with people in the corporate side. But this is something totally different, like work related, but I teach in different medical facilities throughout the country, assisting them with different systems that they have. But ultimately, what it boils down to is the desire to get people to understand that they're greater than what they think they are.
That's powerful. I like the apple seeds quote a lot. I truly believe that we all have that power already innately inside of us.
For
We
sure.
need to be able to unleash it. We just need to be able to tap into it to increase the level of awareness that we have and increase our level of consciousness
Yes.
point where it can be unleashed, uncaged.
Uncaged. Yeah.
Uncaged.
Yeah. And
Uh,
infectious. And
100%.
let it be
So infectious.
infectious, man. Absolutely. I know we
Yeah.
hear that word and we're like, but no, if I was talking about confidence with somebody not too long ago, and I was telling them, I said, when you build up confidence, when you build up something that's so positive, your confidence will ultimately rub off on the next person. You winning is going to rub off on the next person. Whatever succeeding, whatever you're doing, it's going to rub off on the next person. So you getting to the next level, you becoming more confident, you being successful, all that's doing is not just helping you, but it's helping
Yeah.
those who are watching and those who are potentially partnering or wanting to partner with you. I know sometimes we look at a lot of the negative. We say, don't stay away from negative people, stay away from these kind of people. But all right, there's one aspect of it. All right, let's stay away from negative. But how about let's do positive? Let's focus
Yes.
on the pro versus trying to veer away from the wrong, the con.
I completely agree. I love that. Focusing a little bit more on Uncaged and the business side. So you got the professional, you got the personal side. Is there a specific type of person that you work with? Do you have an ideal client where you're like, hey, this is the type of person that I want to work with, or
For
what?
sure. I've noticed that personally speaking, obviously you want to help everybody, right? But the better response I would give is the people that seem to be attracted to the services I offer would be people who are like 15 and up. And I realized the reason why I believe 15, I don't know about you. I know for me, as I mentioned before, and I'm very transparent about it. 15, when I was younger, I was awkward in the sense of I knew what things were, I knew what I needed to do, But just, I don't know, between what was going on in here and by the time it came out, or the actions that I would take, didn't always line up. And I feel like at 15, you're not an adult, right? You're just really becoming a teenager. But what does that mean? And but people are telling you, your parents are telling you, you're not going to be a child for too long. But I want to be a child. I want to be. But at the same time, there's a part of you that wants to be an adult too. So it's a very confusing time. So when you have someone like myself or like you that's coming up and sharing, hey, these are the things that you can do, or these are the skills that you need, or these are the things that this is the direction that you should potentially aim towards. I feel like I piqued the interest of a lot of people in that particular age from 15 and up. And I think the oldest person I've ever worked with was like 50 something. And he was just inspired by the perspective that I offered. Because most of the time, it's not necessarily that people don't know or they're ignorant, it's the perspective that they lack. And when you
100%.
lack perspective, you lack options, you lack clarity.
Yeah.
Some people, especially when you're in your 50s, you can be so dead set on one particular thing, you get tunnel vision. And as they say, you can't teach old dog new tricks. You get so tunnel vision that it's do it. It's like
Yeah.
trying to teach my mom about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency stuff. It's like that doesn't make no sense. It's imaginary money. No, but people are becoming like rich for it. So
For
yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is, I think this is by Carl Jung, but your perception is your projection, which is the way that you perceive the world gets projected onto the outside world, and thus force, that's what gets reflected back to you. So the way that you look at something is the way that something looks at you. If I
True.
think that the world is limited on opportunities, I'm going to see limited opportunities. But
And
if
you won't do anything about it.
100%. If I think it's abundant, if I think there's resources everywhere and there's people everywhere that want to help me and want to see me succeed,
Yeah.
will reflect that belief. But help us understand, for the people listening that are interested in potentially working with you, what does that actually look like? So let's say I come in and I'm like, okay, Donslow, let's start working together. Is it like a 3-month program where we have one-on-one sessions? Is it different? Walk me through how it's actually packaged and what the deliverables look like.
Perfect question. So different people desire different things, right? Some people, it's on a one-on-one basis. It could either be virtually or be face to face. Most of my clients right now are virtual, mainly because I'm on the road. Right now, I shared with you earlier, off camera, I told you that I was in St. Louis right now, working with a big client here in St. Louis, Missouri. And even when I'm home, I'm a full-time dad, right? Full-time husband. So it's not always easy to be in person. But a lot of my clients, past and present, were virtual. However, there are a good amount of people that love meeting in a group setting. We have a designated day on Thursdays where I link up with a group of my guys and we have a topic-based discussion. So one discussion I can bring up is I mentioned it earlier, just what can I bring up? Perfect example. Habits, right? We all have them, but what are the good habits and what are the bad habits? What are the habits that are taking you to your destiny, or what are the habits that are keeping you from or keeping you away from it? And we would break it down, and I would give them the opportunity to just simply relate to what we're talking about, give an example from the past, and then I'll do a quick 10-15 minute discussion with them and how we can take actionable steps to creating good habits, right? Because everything is not just, hey, let me just 1, 2, 3, and then this is going to happen. No, these are steps. These are building blocks. These are core values that need to be laid down so that whatever we do build, it can be built on good foundation. So again, we talk about those things, and then at the end, we have something called a journey journal. I instruct my people to have a journey journal where we talk about. We start off by first discussing the things that we're dealing with, the things that we believe that's going to help us to get to our next level, and lastly, the last two would be our short term, our short term goals, which would probably be about 3 to 5 months, and our long term goals, which would ultimately be anywhere from 12 months to 3 years. So what's happening is as we meet on our biweekly basis, we're meeting, we're talking, and I challenge them. Hey, based on what we said we were going to do last week or the week before, do you find yourself closer to your goals or do you find yourself away? And again, we'll have the follow up when it's just one-on-one talks. And I say, hey, I know you shared with me this is what you're doing. Are we there or are we not there? What are we doing? What's wrong? What can we do? Because people need accountability.
Yeah.
People ultimately need, I'm not gonna lie, I work like this too. Sometimes it's not because I don't want what I want or I don't desire what I truly desire. Sometimes I just need that person next to me, that support, that moral support, that person that help give me a gentle nudge or
Yeah.
just, like when you even think about, I don't mean to go too far out, but just to really bring this point home, when you think about the earth, and I ain't gonna go there, and when you think about the earth, they say that it tilts on its axis. And it tilts on it's on its on an axis and it's revolving. However, if it were to tilt just a degree off, we would either be really cold or really hot. Sometimes all we need is just a gentle nudge to get
Mhm.
us right in proper equilibrium. And don't get me wrong, I'm not acting like I'm some doctor, some shrink, or anything like that. I'm not saying that there's people who don't need it, but there are people who just simply need a brother, just simply need a confidant, just simply need somebody to hear them and say, hey, you're good. You got this. Yes, you just lost a family member. Yes, you just lost your job. Yes, you lost that contract. Yes, these things happen, but it's not over. Let's get back in there. Let's get it.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. That's powerful. So with the group sessions, are those virtual or are they in person?
Those are virtual. Those are virtual. So for the most part,
Yeah.
Ammar, they're all virtual. Very seldom do well, it's been a while since I had a face-to-face meeting. If it's a face-to-face meeting, oftentimes it's just impromptu with really close friends. Yeah,
No, it's good. So then more people that aren't in your particular region can have access to this stuff. So
precisely.
walk me through, what is your lead generation process? Like specifically speaking, how do you generate leads for Uncaged Consulting to grow your business?
Great question. Most of it, as of right now, is marketing done on my end. Reaching out, just general blasts on LinkedIn, whether it be about my services, or videos based on like a topic. For instance, I meant to do this today, but I got caught up with the work I was doing. But I would jump on social media, jump on LinkedIn, and talk about something that I briefly spoke about with my clients. So, for instance, I'll talk about how it's important to be a thermostat versus a thermometer in leadership or in life. And I'll say something like, what do you all think about this? And just, I do stuff like that just to
Yep.
obviously give them a little sample of something. But most, like I said, most of it is solely marketing on my own. I'm not using any particular lead generation generators at this time. I think that would definitely be helpful business wise. But yeah, that's right now. I get a few inquiries from time to time. Just working out.
You find it to be inconsistent, not super predictable?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely not necessarily predictable because, to my understanding, with those systems that allows you to survey and qualify, they'll pre-qualify your clients with you or the other people for you. Is it a more market? Is it a cold market? And it also saves you time because
Yeah.
obviously, who has a surplus of that today?
I'm curious, what stopped you from exploring other solutions for leads specifically?
I initially started working with with a company, excuse me, and to be honest with you, just we didn't stay in contact. I know there was some conversations there, but nothing concrete, nothing. There was no follow through ultimately, and because again, I'm just focusing on keeping this thing going. It's
Yep.
not necessarily easy for you to turn back and say, "All right, do we have the extra wheel on the back? Do we have all these other pieces rolling?" Because I'm just focusing on being the captain of the ship. It's a little difficult for me to look
Yeah.
back and yeah,
It's important to have supporting cast, people that can help you in some way, whether that's outside coaches, consultants, or somebody internally.
absolutely.
Walk me through your sales process. So once a lead comes in on LinkedIn, what are the steps they go through for them to actually become a client?
Absolutely. So we'll have the discovery call, right?
Okay.
We'll have the discovery call. I understand what's their why, right? And also, am I a good fit for them? I'm not so business focused to where I just want to take everybody in, right? At the end of the day, when you're in a service-based business, when you consider what service is, it's not necessarily about you. You, as the service provider, are going to benefit, right? They're definitely going to benefit, but it's about the person you're serving. So again, with those discovery calls, I understand their need, their why, if we're a good fit. And by good fit, I just simply mean if what I offer aligns with what they need, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, I'll send them, just everything through Google, send them a Google Doc. Yeah, and then we move forward from there.
Okay, so it's Google Doc and then there's like a payment link on there, or
That is
is
correct.
got it. Do you enjoy sales?
Yes and no, because the moment that you see it as the moment that you become like very salesman-y, as the person and as the person being sold to, it's like, ah. Actually, years ago, I worked as a car salesman at Ford and Lincoln.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it,
Yeah,
but I witnessed a lot of my colleagues do some very shark-like things, man. And I feel like in my time working, I said, I don't want to do that, man. I just want to talk to people. I want to. So sales is not necessarily a bad word to me, but at the same time, it can be a bit difficult, especially on the time end. It can be quite time consuming.
for sure. I think it really depends on how you approach it and what the intention is that you have behind it. You could have two sales guys and they're both phenomenal, and one has bad intentions and one has or great intentions, I should say. And I think the way that I looked at it that really helped me shape my view is, and I think this will be helpful for the listeners to hear, is especially if I know what I'm providing is amazing for that individual.
For
If
sure.
I basically treat it as, okay, the first thing that I need to do is figure out, is this person a good fit? If I can and how I can help them. That's my first job. If and how I can help them. And if they check that box from there, it is my responsibility to help them get out of their own way using my conversational skills, my sales skills, you could call it. Because if I believe in what I'm doing and I know that it's going to help the other person, then it's my moral obligation to get as good as I possibly can at this craft. Because and I'm saying this because I know there's a lot of people that put a bad stigma around sales, but I think it just comes down to what is your intention and is what you're selling truly going to help the other person. And if that's the case, then sell all you want. Sell the more the merrier because you're impacting people on a positive level. Walk me through though. When you think about the future, when you think, let's say, over the next 6 to 12 months, what is your vision for the company? Where do you want to take it? What are your top priorities? Walk me through that.
6 to 12 months. Definitely establishing a solid community of people, of goal getters, right? GOAL, goal getters. Definitely establishing a community where they're not just speaking to me, but they're also relying on each other, finding community amongst a community. Also, I would like to, within 6 to 12 months, it would be phenomenal to be able to have other coaches under the organization,
Mm,
other coaches solely so that we can ultimately cast a bigger net.
yeah.
Also, to give me the autonomy to focus on marketing. Yes, marketing is always going to be a thing, but to focus more on the speaking side of Uncaged Consulting. Right now, I am actively a speaker. However, because I wear many hats, I can only do so much in one particular area. I would love to focus more on the speaking side eventually, because again, that's a great client attractor at that point on that
Yeah,
aspect
yeah.
as well. But also, let's say if I don't attract the client. Let's say I just give them the breakthrough that they were looking for. I'm
Still,
okay with that. It's still a win. Absolutely. It's a seed that's sown.
yeah.
It's a seed that's sown. So that's that 6 to 12 years, excuse me, months, definitely.
I love that. What do you feel like is the biggest challenge you're facing as a business owner to making that a reality?
Oh man. I have an answer already, but I'm just in maybe 5 more seconds to produce another one.
Don't
Uh,
filter yourself. Don't tell me. I want to know that first answer. I want to know both answers.
for sure. I'm going to give you both, I promise. For the sake of time, the first one is obviously the commerce aspect of it, the money, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid of money, and I believe that you should be afraid of money if your heart isn't in the right place. Because as the saying goes, I'm not going to misquote it, it's going to sound bad. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, again, if your heart is in the right place, if the money comes or when the money comes, you'll find yourself doing some really ignorant things or nonsensical things. However, yeah, definitely the money aspect, but also a solid team. I understand everybody's not going to understand the vision because the vision bearer is the vision bearer, but ultimately a team of people that will move cohesively with me. And I know we live in an AI age, right? I would definitely leverage AI as much as we can. But again, a solid team that will ultimately help take this to the next level. There's a biblical scripture that says one can chase 1,000, but two can put 10,000 to flight. When you consider the math behind that, man, it's like just because there's more than one person, you would think one person gets 10, other person would get makes it 20. No, it jumps by like 100 or 1,000%. So yeah, man, that would definitely be it right there.
I love that. I love that. Let me ask you a closing question. If you could go back in time to your younger self
Yeah.
and talk to yourself right before you started the business, you could tell that version of yourself something you wish you knew at that time, but you didn't, and now you know, what would that piece of advice be? And the reason I'm just gonna preface this, the reason I ask is I don't believe regret is a resourceful state of being to live in, and that's not where the question is coming from.
For
It's more
sure.
so coming from a place of, hey, if we could talk to the younger generation, what would that piece of advice be?
Man, I gotta tell you, Ammar, that's a really good question. A really good question. Ironically enough, I was thinking about that same question yesterday. The first thing I would say is don't waste time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste time. Time is so precious. The second thing I'll say is you are the X factor. You are what your client needs. You are the person that they want to reach out to because you have what they need.
Yeah.
Those would be the two things I would say. And I'll also add this for you, Ammar. One of my favorite movies in the whole world, I was just telling my class this a couple days ago, is The Wiz or The Wizard of Oz. And one of the reasons why I love that movie so much, I can literally watch it once a week. It wouldn't bother me. One of the things I love about that movie is Dorothy went through so much throughout the movie, just trying to get home, trying to get to the destination that she felt she needed to be. When she was told, go here, this person, if you keep going, keep searching for this person, he's going to have the answer you're looking for. And even while she's looking for the person that's supposed to have the answer for her, she's helping other people and realizing that they have what they need already.
Mm,
And at the end of the movie, she realizes, or she was told, she was made aware that you're looking for something from this person. He don't have it for you because he's not real.
yeah.
But what is real is that thing that you already have, which in her case was the ruby slippers.
Mm,
So when I say you are the X factor, I don't say this to toot my horn or to give some false bravado. What I'm saying is who the creator made me to be. I'm the answer to
mm,
somebody.
100%.
Yeah,
I love that. What's the best way for people to reach you?
absolutely. I can be reached at uncagedconsultancy.com. I'm also on most social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook. On Instagram, you can find me at dbrown_speaks, dbrown_SPEAKS. Facebook, Donslow Brown. I'm also on TikTok, dbrown_speaks, as well as LinkedIn. So if you
Oh,
just put link on LinkedIn, just put my name, you'll be able to find me.
love
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind me adding this as well, Ammar, I
that.
also have two books I published. Yes,
Awesome.
sir. Yes, sir. One is a children's novel called Warriors of Truth. The
Nice.
Pain.
I love that.
Man, I know it's my book, but if it was somebody else's book, I would still give it the same
Yeah, yeah,
praise. It is a phenomenal book, man. It's a
yeah.
phenomenal book on it's nonfiction. It's a young man basically discovering what faith means while he has to fight a character that operates out of deception and fear. And he ultimately learns that in order to defeat fear, you have to have faith.
Mm,
He finds hope in the midst, and hope is literally a person in the book.
yeah.
I promise you, even if you,
Yeah.
Ammar, if you want to check it out, please, by all
I
means,
love
it's on
that.
Amazon. Warriors of Truth, The Cane. Also, a book I just published maybe about a month ago called Nonetheless.
Mm.
And it's a very short book. It's right now, it's not on paperback, not in paperback, it's an ebook, but it is a book that I wrote when I was going through a dry season in my life.
Mm.
And for those who are not sure what a dry season is, it's ultimately just a season where nothing seems to be working out.
Yeah.
The money's coming in. Granted, my kids are eating every day. The lights are still on and everything like that, but things aren't moving. And it seems like there's no sign of water
Yeah.
or rain. And basically, the book is just a reminder. It's a feeling. It's an unction to people to cultivate relentlessness in
Yeah.
the midst of opposition, in the midst of seemingly drought.
I like that. I love that so much. Brother, I
Yeah,
appreciate your time today.
absolutely.
And
Thank you so much for having me.
so that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. For our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go follow Donslow Brown on all social medias, and obviously make sure to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're looking to scale your business and enhance your sales and marketing efforts, if you're a coach, consultant, or an agency, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.